Hello, I'm Scott Bartley. I'm actually a trainer. I'm the breathing guy. And I train you to locate, generate, activate your internal force for activities of life. This video is entitled The Ego and How to Make It Work for You, your ego. Now, the term ego is sort of an old term, but it's sort of lost a lot of its impact from the 50s, 60s, going all the way back. It's a very old term going way back to the Greeks, actually, and it really means self. You have the term egotus, and it's usually been portrayed as a negative. I'm presenting it as a way of change. If you want to change your life, change your whole your range of ability, you have to change your ego. As a sinner, when someone says you got to change your life or you need to change, and they talk about all these other, well, you got to do this and you got to do that, and in the end, what do you got? You don't have a central point to judge what's changed, what's different. You can have a lot of experience, but has it really changed you? And what I'm talking about is a whole approach. This is the ego approach to change. You focus on your ego. That's right. If you can't change your ego, you're not changed. A lot of people believe they're changed. Believe me, I'm from the 70s. If you haven't noticed the wrinkles and the squinty eyes and all the skin and everything, I'm in my mid 70s and I went through so many programs that promise to change you. You wouldn't believe the list of, in the 70s, of people taking these programs, get involved, this and that, all to do what? They were dissatisfied with themselves. They were dissatisfied what they were. Plus, at the time, everyone promised you do this or you do that, like primal scream. You get through that, it frees you, you don't have any more pain, anxiety. Yeah, I met a person that went through primal scream, and she was crazier than ever. It's like there was no wisdom there. There was no engagement there. It was all more or less, I did this and I did that and I did this. It's like climbing up the mountain and coming home. See, I climbed the mountain. It's sort of like it's a sense of accomplishment, but that's all it is a sense of accomplishment, and that's fine. If that's all you want, I've done this or done that. In the end, all you can say, but how has it changed you? But back in the 70s, they did these programs claiming it will change you. Well, even like psychedelic drugs, like LSD was very popular. Oh man, the stories of LSD back in the 70s. Hey, you younger people have no idea what your grandparents did back in the 70s. You go shake your head. They would be appalled if they had to tell you what was going on in the 70s and 80s. Ay, ay, ay. It was the time of the, how guys say, extremes. Everyone wanted to be better than everybody else. Everyone was trying to be cool, to be above, elite, or whatever. It was a sense of, if you want to say, that you're special. And in reality, they did a lot of things. Went to the best restaurants. You take a look at psychedelic clothes. See, I was too poor to have psychedelic clothes and all the other stuff. All these people with the lamps and all the accoutrements that you needed to be in the cool groove. It's more than I could afford at the time. So that was the time you have to understand about ego. And now no one talks about the ego, really. What do you do? And I'm going to bring focus. If you want to change, you really want to feel change, because the word ego and self are synonymous. They are together. And once you understand that they are together, how do you define the ego? What is the ego? Therefore, you have to define. And I'm going to give you an approach. An approach. You have to do it. I'm just laying out, if you want to say, building blocks that you can put together for yourself. It is an art. Life is an art to change. And you have to identify a lot of different things, decide what do you want to do. This is very much of an aware, conscious, directional approach based on foundation, not on some ethereal, hot air concepts that it's a fad. It's not based on fad. Fads I've seen come and go, and I don't see the people change their ego. One, not very much at all. Some do. Some become nicer people. Now, for example, is part of your ego changed to be a nicer person? What do you, if you had a chance to be something different, what would you like to be? Calmer, nicer, more whatever. Now, if you're a drug user, alcohol user, a druggie, whatever, that's a whole lot. But see, those are all ego manifestations. You've altered your ego through chemical change of the body. You've had experience based on drug use, which is altering the ego. The ego, again, I will give you a definition. I'm just alluding to what this means right at the moment. This is the first of many videos on the ego change necessary if you pick, but you have to decide what would you like to be better. Now, a little clue here, there's a male ego and there's a female ego. Understanding the difference. If you're a female, your ego is very different because your body's different, your chemistry's different, your purpose is different, your whole view of things is different. Male, the same way. Their body's different, their sensations are different, their whole emotional range is different. So really, I'd say breaking it down, there's male and female, and because of chemistry and chemistry, focus, preference, that affects the ego of the person. So there's a male ego and a female ego. And that's basically you build from that. And by being with the opposite, in other words, a male being a female the other, you can contrast your ego more. You can realize who you are overall. And your foundation has to start with physical. That's the number one rule. Life begins physical and it ends with physical. Life begins with a breath. So you got two spectrums here. You got the physical body and you got the breath. The breath is what I deal with a lot and how it influences the body back and forth. Then the mind. The mind is awareness of all that is. And above the mind, as a physical brain function, you have consciousness. Consciousness is a manifestation beyond, if you want to say, the scope of this video series. It's a whole nother area about consciousness and where consciousness comes, develop, and is. It is a phenomenal. Humans, beings, are phenomenal, are spiritual beings. And we have been, if you want, you can use the word evolved or developed or come about to be spiritual beings. Animals are not. So understanding who we are as a male, female, human being, and consciousness, brain, body, and the ego is the manifestation we produce in life. To interact with people, to perceive things, to be the person we are. The ego is the foundation to build whatever emotional reality you want. If you want to change, you have to focus on your ego and all the components, internal and external, that manifests the ego, which is an energy expression of reality. For humans create their emotional, physical reality in situations in life. Until you understand that part, how can you change if you don't feel good, or you're stuck, or you're drinking, or you're taking drugs? It only begins when you truly understand the parts that make you who you are. And it's not simple, but it's creative. You are the artist of your reality. You are the sum total of your reality. And when you understand all the parts, you just change a little part here, a little part there, and the influence on your ego and the recovery of life. Now, if you have PTS, post-traumatic syndrome, I will deal with that. That's part of an ego. If you've been brutalized, you're a female and you've been emotionally brutalized, or you're an adult, you've been emotionally brutalized. It's an ego approach to affect the compulsiveness or fears that it created. Because what you're dealing is fear more than anything else. If you want to use one word is fear. And then take it from there. It's like stress. My favorite word to really understand in the most simple way is the word stress. I have a saying, if I cannot change your stress, I cannot influence your emotional physical reality. I cannot alter and influence your emotional physical reality. And you are your emotional physical reality. That is the ego presentation of reality of your conscious mind interacting within the world itself. So I got several terms here. They're mixing together. This is not, how can I say, a singularity. You just do this and your world is fine. It doesn't work. That's the 70s for you. Especially with Primal Scream. I went into that very deeply at one time and hoping that would help some people I know, including myself. I was recovering from post-traumatic syndrome. I was in Vietnam, and that was an interesting experience. It's not a matter. When someone says they got post-traumatic, they're more comfortable in combat there. Here, that's basically it. I can deal with with there. I felt more comfortable there than here, and I knew my enemies. Here, I didn't. There's too big of a gray area. There, it was very simple. But that's another story. But how do you recover? And it's an ego trip. When you're a soldier, when you have a truly soldier combat ego, how do you recover from that to deal with normal citizens? And I've observed a lot of people over the years recover, not recover, have no effect from now to severe post-traumatic stress. I'm sort of like in between on the whole thing there, because I literally, the post-traumatic event I had, I said I'd never want that happen again. It immobilizes you. It truly makes you like, wait a minute. And what is post-traumatic? It's physical. And I'll even tell you how it was formulated within the fascia material of the body. Emotions are in the body. Trauma is in the body. And it has to be, if you want to say, released through softening processes. That's the area that I go into. So dealing with the ego is an expression of your energy and receiving energy from your surrounding events and being a human being. And understanding several parts. What is a human being? And I take an energy approach to physical to mental. Mental is the brain and all its functions. To, if you want to say, mind, body, and breath. Everything is a mind, body, and breath. That is the simplest words that forms the ego of your expression in your daily life. And for you to appreciate life is really the function of this video series. How do you appreciate being a human being with all of its suffering, traumas, or whatever, and unknowns? Ignorance, the Buddhists said right about ignorance. Ignorance gets us into deep trouble because there is an absolute truth. And when you're ignorant of the truth, you always get into conflict with your life. And that is the challenge. And having an understanding, the tools, and you have to paint your reality. Having the canvas and what range of colors. What range? Some people may have 2 or 3 colors. Others may have 10 colors. It varies very much by the person themselves, their talents, their experiences, their language, intelligence, a whole bunch. It doesn't matter. The end result is that you are comfortable, realize, and at peace. For there's 3 things you're striving for that I wish you'd strive for in this video says. Calmness, joy, and happiness. How do you reach, and you need to develop calmness first. If you're not calm, there is no joy in life. If there is no joy in life, there can never be true happiness. Now, these words I'm using have to be defined to build, and understanding it in a way that's functional, not mentally abstract from a Caltech mathematical level. This is from a point of view that gets you the ability to create. I'm trying to give the tools within this video series on the ego, focusing on the ego to, how can I say, use the term ego in a way to make yourself better based on your judgment. And to me, it is to have peace, to have joy, to be happy and express concern and abilities in life. Because when we pass on, which I see that coming closer and closer, I truly appreciate the challenge that I went through. I've gone through it. I've lived a life. And on reflection, I didn't look back. It's like one thing after another, and all of a sudden I'm on top of the hill and I look down. How did I get here? How'd this come about? You know, it's a very surprising experience at times when you think about all the things that come about in your life that you never thought of before or realized, and who you are from it. Remember, you are the sum total of all events and abilities at this moment. And when you truly understand that, refining, doing, or what do you want at this stage, whatever. I don't care if you're 20 years old, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever. Yeah, I have a real good friend of mine who's 91, and his physical is not doing so well. And I really enjoy his presence. He is sharp. Enjoy his commentary. But he is fading, and finding purpose is a key thing, both male purpose and a female purpose. It's very, very different. It's very hard for males, much more than females. There's reasons for that. It's a genetic thing. What do you want on that? Females have many advantages over males. Males have their issues as well. But anyway, I'm just telling you about what the purpose of this video series is, to use the term ego, give an understanding so you can change your ego to project more positive, better, and receive it. And that receiving is hard. When it's blocked of appreciation, when you don't appreciate good people, when you don't appreciate in fear, and it's basically fundamental on fear. Fear is what we have to overcome as well, but the trauma events of the body is the other end. Anyway, this is Scott, the breathing guy, and this whole series is going to be on the ego and how do you transform your ego. What are the tools? What are the ideas? And what can you do to make a better projection feelings in your life? Have a better smile. Realize great things about your life. Realize how good you have it around you. I don't care if you're in combat. Believe me, people in combat can have some great times. In some ways, the camaraderie in combat is unequal. It really is unequal. And at work, one time it was really important. Too bad the young people have these computers. When you have a gang of guys get together and all, and every morning you meet and you go out, you just have a camaraderie. You can have a great time. You laugh, joke, and then you go out. It's being part of life and people. Now you have being part of other computers more than actual interaction with people. And what's missing is energy. That's what you're missing. Just tell you right now, it's a coldness. And that hurts for range of motion. But that's life. you deal with it. Understanding that and deciding what you want to do is always the story of life, period. And I got suggestions, clues, methods. I give you methods. I just don't tell you. I'll give you techniques and methods in the most classic ways. Anyway, you have a look for my next video on the ego and the transformation of oneself. This is Scott Bartley, the trainer in mind, body, breath, and core breathing.